Welcome back to Let's Make a Game, a channel about making computer role-playing games using the free program Twine and the Sugarcube format for Twine. In this video, I would like to talk about a new project which I intend to start on this channel. If you've been following this channel, you might say, but James, you started a new project only a few videos ago. And you're quite right. But it isn't getting a lot of responses. People don't seem to like it, and I am nothing if not a shameless populist. And so I'm going to start a new project, and put the one that I was working on away for possibly indefinitely. So let's talk about my new project. Well, it is a combination of several different types of game that already exist, but which I don't think I've ever seen combined before. First of all, there is a genre of games where the player takes the role of the manager of a usually a football team, and it can be different codes of football. Most often it's either soccer or American football, and they make decisions that perhaps the owner and the coach would make, like which players to hire, which types of training to undergo, negotiating payments, finding new grounds, and paying for upgrades to the ground, that sort of thing. There's a series called Football Manager, which is probably the most famous example of this. It's a soccer management game, but there are dozens, if not hundreds, of games like that. There's also a game called Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl is a board game in which two players play out a football game of sorts between teams of sort of fantasy characters. So you might have a team of dwarves, and the other side might have a team of elves, for example, or the undead or something like that. So it's made by Warhammer, and it's in a sort of more comic version of the Warhammer world. And I really like that idea, that setting, the idea of sort of football existing in a kind of Dungeons and Dragons like world. I don't intend to copy the mechanics of Blood Bowl, but I do want to make a game that's in a very similar setting, at least in the general sense of it's a fantasy world, but they have sports teams. The game is not intended to be a sort of copy of Blood Bowl, but it is to some extent a copy of the theme of Blood Bowl. The emphasis would be on the management side, the football manager style gameplay, where it's not so much acting out a game, it's more acting out a season or even several seasons. And so you make sort of longer term decisions. It's not so much the decision of, okay, do I kick to this person, or do I hold the ball, or do I get the guy to run? You don't make those small level decisions, and you don't see the game played out with every single pass and every single shot at goal, etc. Instead, you might just get a brief recap of a single game, and the game is more about, okay, well, now we've got a player injured. Are we going to put in the sort of not as good substitute, or are we going to try and kind of get a bye or something? Are we going to maybe bribe the other team to try and fix the match? Are we going to take a week off and sort of do extra training, etc., etc.? Those sort of decisions. I would like to combine that with a role-playing element. So in a football manager game, yes, ostensibly you're the coach, or you're the owner or something like that, but there's not really a strong sense of you as a character. I don't know these games in sort of great detail, but I think generally you don't have a character with stats. And what I want to do is you do have a character with stats. So for example, when you're trying to recruit players, you might have a charisma stat. When you're trying to negotiate salaries, you might have a willpower stat that becomes relevant to what happens. My idea is that you will play a character who is a player in the game and is the captain of the team, but is also kind of doing the management. So it's a role that doesn't exist in real life, in a real sports team, even in a very amateur small town football team or something. You would have these roles broken up. But of course, we're setting it in a fantasy world. So, there's nothing to say that the coach and the captain and the owner and the manager, or at least those sort of roles, can't be done by a single person. Of course, the place of sport is not going to be the same in Middle Earth as it is in, 21st century Australia or the United States. So the game would be a sort of choose your own adventure style, computer RPG style game in which you have a character, but the world is perhaps a fairly typical fantasy world, maybe a slightly more sort of whimsical, comical one, but the decisions you're making are not about an adventuring party. They're about a sports team, and the sports team is not venturing into dungeons, or at least if they are venturing into dungeons, it's to play a match against the goblins rather than to, go dungeon crawling. So that's the idea. In my next video, I would like to present the beginnings of gameplay, which will probably be character creation, although that would probably be fairly typical for computer role-playing games. Like, you probably won't see a lot of difference in the next video because it'll be pretty typical. Okay, do you want to be a human, dwarf, elf, etc., etc.? Okay, you've chosen that one. Here are your stats. You would start to see the differences probably after that, because you won't be going adventuring. You'll be looking at hiring a ground, looking at recruiting people to your team, etc. So that's what I plan to do. I don't know whether I'll go back to the project that I've abandoned. I don't know whether it's a sort of temporary thing or whether it's just an idea that doesn't interest people on the internet. But either way, this is what I'm planning to do. I hope it sounds interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.